Houston, we have a discussion. Here's the discussion. Oh, we have a yawn. We have a discussion and a yawn. How was your yawn? Was it a good yawn? Did you enjoy your yawn?
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was very good.
I enjoyed your yawn. It was a solid yawn.
Thank you.
It was like it was, you know what it was? It was obscene. Obscene is a real thing that actually exists. What it means is off screen. Obscene. It's in Latin. Obscene. And obscene, what it means is that it's
Really?
an action. Yeah. It's an action that in the context of a, not necessarily literally Shakespeare, although Shakespeare is an example. Back when there were plays done during the Roman Empire, they would talk about things as being obscene, as in they happened off of the set. They happened off of the screen, so behind the curtain where no one could see them from the audience's perspective. Those were examples of obscene actions. Yes, so.
But isn't like obscene
Your yawn was
also just
obscene.
like? Isn't obscene also like disgusting, or am I thinking of a different word?
It does mean disgusting, yeah. But the
Okay.
origination of the
Would it-
word,
okay.
the derivation, if you will, is from the context of obscene in the context of theater, of the theatre. Hot take: theatre should be spelled R-E, not E-R. Why? I have no argument. I just think it should. Why should it be spelled E-R? You have no argument for that either. Okay. Therefore, if we're given the choice between the fancy spelling and the not fancy spelling, we should go with the fancy spelling, with the theatre. Okay. Wonderful.
Theatre?
The theatre. The theatre. It's more of a theatre, you know? You got a tra.
Yeah.
It's a r. The theatre. The theatre. You know, you got to have a at the end. You know, it's about the brah, you know?
Anyway, this
back
episode
to
is
this
not about
episode.
theatre.
This episode is not about obscene. This episode is not about the theatre. Okay, this episode is about
policing.
some people news. I don't know who some people news is, but they were the ones who wrote this. Houston. Okay, it says this.
Yeah.
Birmingham School Resource Officer. Fix. How do I pronounce Fikes? I don't know. We're going to go with Fix. Officer Fix spent time assisting a student with his classwork. It all started when a special needs student was having difficulties in class. The teacher asked Officer Fix to intervene. The student told the officer he didn't want to do his work because he did not like sitting at his desk. Officer Fix told the student to get his schoolwork and he will help him in the hallway. The student told Officer Fix he loved him and thanked him for spending time with him. #protect, #serve, #respect. Birmingham Police Department. Okay. I approve of Officer Fix. I think what Officer Fix did here is perfectly reasonable. I think, given the circumstances, what the teacher did was probably reasonable as well in terms of their decision to have this kid leave the classroom, because if they're responsible for issues in the classroom, I think it's reasonable to focus on the 25 other kids that are in the class rather than just focusing on this one individual.
Yeah.
Both of those things are good. The question is whether Officer Fix should be an officer of the police department or whether he should be a counselor of the school.
Yeah. I mean, I think it would be better if they had counselors, because I think that like kids probably need that mental like health check. Especially like in school. I think school is like difficult and it's a lot. You're spending like most of your time there as a child. You're like learning and growing up in school. I think it would be best to have like mental health professionals in each of the schools, like helping kids if they need help. And it should be like okay to go there, just to go see them if they need to. But yeah, we don't do that.
But we don't do that. I feel like it's just sort of I feel like it's a problem that we rely on police in situations that don't really require policing. And so this is an example. This is an example of someone who the job that he's doing here is an important job, but it's not a job that ought to be being done by a police officer. It's a job that ought to be done by a guidance counselor, or even by another member of the faculty. Depending on the size of the school, depending on the circumstances, whatever it might be, right? That's who should be doing this job. And instead it's being done by police. And there's a sense in which, like, and this is not the only example. This happens in the context of schools. It also happens in the context of, like, why is it that, you know, we focus on you know, there's just all of these different sort of gray areas where police are doing jobs they probably shouldn't be the ones responsible for. And I just don't think, like you were talking earlier about your issue of someone has to watch you from the government to make sure you're following the guidance of the government when you were doing some like scene in public, right?
Yeah.
There's no reason that needs to be a police officer, right? It has to be someone potentially.
Well, I mean, we wanted a police officer because we were doing gun stuff, but like, I think Yeah.
But sure. So in that particular case, yes. But there are other examples of other people just recording things in public. And I get why there needs to be a presence of someone doing watching that from the government perspective. But why is it police? Right? Why is it that we assume that like police are the ones responsible for that? Why is it that like we assume like there's just so many things that we just sort of like put at the hands of police that I don't think belong in the hands of police. I think they belong in the hands of government, yes, but not in the hands specifically of the department that's responsible for jailing people and responsible for, you know, keeping order in a physical context. Yeah. It's just very odd. And so I don't know. I just feel like while I don't think anyone was dramatically wrong in terms of the situation here, I think that the context in which the situation is happening is a broader context, which is a somewhat dangerous context.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. So maybe we should have like a separate department, like a new kind of like government agency that deals with.
Yeah, and we've already done that, right? Like fire is a dangerous context. We already have a fire department, and we accept that the fire department should be different than the police department. But why don't we have like a department that's responsible for, you know, mental health issues, right? Like there are people who call 911 and say, "Hey, like I am considering suicide," right? There has to be a response to that. Of course there has to be a response to that. Why the fuck is the guy who shows up in your house when you're talking about killing yourself showing up with a gun? And why the fuck is the guy who shows up at your house when you're talking about killing yourself someone who is potentially, you know, someone you're afraid of? Why is that someone who, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, it just seems like there are just so many, we just treat the police like a catch-all organization in a way that I think is dangerous. And yeah, I mean, like when people talk about like the abolishment of the police, I think it's a silly phrase because I think that people hear that and they say there shouldn't be police doing jobs that have to be done by the police. It's silly in that context. But the underlying premise there is basically that we should sort of branch out and be looking at all of these different problems in a different lens. And we should be looking at like if you're going to steelman the framework of abolishing the police, this is the framework. The framework is that people who respond to suicide should be responsible for suicide and solely suicide. People responsible for dealing with schools, for school resource officers, should not be also the ones responsible for giving you a ticket when you're speeding. Like, clearly Fix is good at his job. I'm grateful that Fix is good at his job, but his job should just be this. It shouldn't be this and also 10 other things that don't have to do with education. He should be responsible for education, and that's it.
Yeah.
Interesting. Have we solved it? I'm not saying that we've like actually done anything, but is this a reasonable like framework for if people,
No, I think I mean, I think that like when people say like defund the police, it's like I like not eye catching, like ear catching and like poppy. And so like they're like, oh, like what does that mean? But like I think it's too negative. When we really don't really need defund the police. We mean like don't have them deal with everything.
Yeah, it means divvy up the
Like,
duties. Yeah, it means
yeah, like
yeah.
create other with that money. Like we are saying, like take money from the police department, but with that money, like make other departments that deal with the same jobs that police used to do, but like have them specialize in those jobs. Because like I think we need that at this point.
Interesting. All right. Did we solve it? I think we solved it.
Yeah, but like
America is perfect. There is no longer racism.
But
There is no longer
that's not as
sexism.
catchy as
Everything
defund
is
the police.
perfect. So what's a catchy thing to say? Is there a catchy thing to say?
I don't think so. Well, I mean, I'm sure there is. I just don't know.
What if it's like separate the police? That seems negative too. But my thinking there is like we want to like divvy up the duties.
Yeah.
Oh my God! What if we just said divvy up the duties?
Divvy up the duties
Divvy up the duties. Yeah.
of the police.
Yeah. We divvy up the duties. We are making the resource officers. We're making the suicide prevention people. We're making the people who are responsible for crowd control. We're making the people responsible for giving people tickets for traffic violations responsible for traffic violations. We're like divvying up the duties.
Huh. That's cute. I like that.
Okay, so what we need is we need a mass protest with a bunch of people holding signs that say, divvy up the duties, divvy up the duties. Have we figured it out?
I think so. I think we did it.
That's like profoundly non-aggressive. I don't think anyone, because
that
like
is
abolish the
aggressive.
police is like a very aggressive thing to say. But divvy
Defund
up
the
the
police
duties,
is also very
defund the police
aggressive.
also aggressive. ACAB, right? All cops are bastards. Very aggressive. Divvy up the duties? I don't think that's particularly aggressive. I don't think anyone could get like that mad at you for saying divvy up the duties. Yeah.
No.
Also, it
And it's
sounds
also
like poop.
divvy up, like how? Like what does that mean?
Also,
like,
it sounds like poop.
too.
When you say duties, it sounds like poop. And I approve of anything that sounds like poop. You know? Yeah.
Yeah.
Have we solved it? I think we've solved it. Everything is perfect. We've solved policing in America. Congratulate us in the comments, like and subscribe so that we can continue to solve other issues. Au revoir.